Hey everyone, welcome back to a new tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be talking about how to save and load your game in Unity. For that, we have a certain amount of things to talk about, like build up to that part. But first, I'm going to talk about the scene that I made for this. It's a very simple scene. There's a few objects, and you can see that I have two characters there. They're not going to do anything, it's just a player. Looks good. So in the user interface, we have a health bar, the title, we have a save button, a load button, and a couple inputs. These are just for show. You don't need to use inputs at all or buttons. It's just the way I'm going to show you how to make your save system. As always, this is not the only way or the best way. It's just a way to make a save system. But if it helps you, then I will be happy about it. So we have a script that I already created, a UI controller script where I placed all of these UI objects for me to use later. But the script, as you can see, is completely empty. So I'm gonna fill it up in the tutorial. So right, as I was saying, we need to talk about data objects, right? So data objects are objects that are not mono behaviors and they can contain data and they're used to calculate things or just contain data in general. Um, in this case, I'm going to have a data object called player, right? I'm going to delete the mono behavior and my player is going to contain two values. So I'm going to have a public string player name and a public int called I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna say let's say max health and current health, and I'm gonna set my max health to 10. So every player is gonna have a max health of 10 at the start, and the current health will work with it. So this object, as you can see, it only has a very small amount of data, and that allows us to play around with it a little. So now my UI controller, I will have a player, right? I'm gonna have a private player, and what my buttons are going to do is edit that player. So let's go with setup buttons. We have the name input. So I'm gonna say name input that on value changed that add listener, and here this is a normal regular or good old Unity functionality. So I might make a tutorial on this if you need it, but I don't think you do. So name input on value change, we add a listener and we say X, right? So we say player player name equals X. And here in awake, I'm gonna make a new player. So player equals a new player. Every time I awake, I create a new player. You'll see why later. So then our health input. So health input, same thing on value change that add listener X. And here we need to say to do the health display to change our health image to match the health input and also change the value in the player. So player health, or rather, let's say current health equals X. It's gonna complain because it's not an int. So I'm gonna say int health as int equals int.parse. So we're going to be parsing that value to an int, right? And now we will grab our health display and say health display that fill amount equals player that max health divided by, or rather, sorry, the other way around, player that current health divided by max health. So that way we do that. And now we're going to test whether it works or not. Let us wait a little bit for Unity to do its thing. And now I will make sure that the health bar is in fill mode horizontal so that it does this effect. Right? Hit play. And of course, this is not going to be visible. I'm going to call myself, I don't know, MPG. This does not have an effect, which is 8 doesn't work. It goes to 0. instead of going to, you know, whatever. And that's probably because my max health is set to 0. I'm gonna change this player to public so we can confirm my suspicions. Here. Oh, where's the here? Oh, yeah. So, well, this is important. In order for you to be able to save or see your data objects in Unity, you have to do system.serializable on top. This is an attribute that allows you to allows the script to appear here and also to be saved and loaded. Yeah, so you can see player max health is 10, current health is 0, player name is empty. So whenever I change test, you can see that. So you can see that this doesn't work. And that is because these are ints. So in order to make it work, I just have to say here, this is a minor class in UI, but you know it will do the thing that we want it to do. So here, whenever I hit 5, it will go to half, and that is exactly what I need to do. So okay, now that we have that working, I will go to my player script. Well, actually, no, I'm gonna go to my saver loader. I created a script called saver loader. This is the script that's going to take care of, you guessed it, saving and loading. So we're gonna remove that and gonna make it static. And here in the usings, we need to add system.io, which means input output, which means, you know, saving, handling data. Now, for the saver loader, for saving, the first thing that we need is a path. So you want to have a basic path in your game where things are saved. So in this case, I'm actually going to just use application. Oh, I need to be using Unity Engine, sorry, using Unity Engine. Here, application data path. This is the assets folder. So if you want to save in resources, for example, you do plus resources, you know, or maybe saves or whatever you want. But in this case, I'm only going to do data path. And now I need a public static void save game, and I'm going to pass in the player. And saving the game is very simple. Saving with a JSON file. A JSON file is just like a text file. You see it in a second when it's built. And it transforms this into a text file that's readable for humans and the computer. You can actually edit the save file. So in this case, we have public static void save game, and we have our player. And now we say we want to, you know, save that. So we're gonna say file that write all lines, write all text, path, loss, and we're gonna add the player name, right? And we're going to also add .json. And the contents of the save, we're gonna make JSON utility that to JSON player, and that is our save file. So we are going to actually debug log the player name, player.name. Right? And that way we will be able to save the player data. Now, how do we load the player data? So we also do public static void load game. And here we need the player and name. So string player name. And we also could have, like in the player, we could have a save slot, right? So we have a public int save slot. If you want to have 3 saves, instead of passing in the name, we pass in the thing, the slot. So in this case, I'm going to pass the player name, and I'm going to actually return a player here, right? So you can see that with this, I will be forced to read the data and then return it as an object. So we'll say player equals, and then return player, right? So So this is nothing yet, but now we can do this, but the other way around. We say file.read all text path. So this same formula that I did here, I copy it, and then here we say JSON utility that to, or rather from JSON player. The JSON utility is included in Unity, by the way. This is player name. So since we know that we saved it as a JSON, we also know that it's gonna be there. If it's not there, it's gonna return null, and that's that's gonna be a problem. But you have to make sure that this is there. Now in my UI controller, I already have a save button and a load button. So I'm gonna go ahead and do save button that onQuit that add listener, and we add a listener to our button, which is going to be save game. See that I have a function down there that is save game. And now for the load button, onQuit that add listener. Your buttons, well, I tend to set up my buttons this way. You don't have to, but it's not a bad thing. Saver loader, you can also make this an anonymous type, but I'm not gonna talk about that right now. But if you need like a thing that saves anything, you can change this to be like T. There are ways to make it so that it's not forced to be your player type, and you can use it in many projects. But yeah, it's not the scope of this tutorial. So save game. Saving the game means we send our player, or rather we say saver loader, save game, and we pass in the player that we already have, this guy over here. So that will save the game. Now for loading it, I'm going to do a little trickery here. Yeah, you know what? I will do a little trickery here. I'm gonna say saver loader, load game, and we're gonna pass in the player name, right? The input, our name input that text. I'm gonna pass it in as the value for searching the save. So I can have up to in this case, since I have the health input, I can have several save cases, right? We're gonna try that. It's gonna be awesome. So yeah, we could save more stuff. Let me see how long this takes, and I might add more things. Okay, I just want to make it work right now. So whenever I load the game, I'm gonna say player equals this, and now I can do these things, right? So name input, name input. Well, the name input reality player dot name, right? And now we have our health input that fill amount. All right, sorry. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, the health input also needs the player current health, and we need this string. All right, so this will load our data. We're going to substitute. I mean, just this loads the data. I already have the player, but I want to change things in the world depending on this data, right? So now I'm gonna wait a little. I also going to check when I hit save. I'm going to check that the file is here. All right, so I'm insert player name. I'm gonna type test, and I'm gonna hit 5 here, and now I will hit save. I will refresh, and we have the file, and you can see that the file's contents are player name, test, max health 10, kernel 5. So if I change this to 8 or something and I load, it will go back to 5, right? So this way we can do that simple thing. But I'm gonna do, okay, so that is it. So that's basically the tutorial, right? So I'm gonna add a little more. I'm gonna add a little more at the end of the, right now from here onwards, this is additions, more ideas for you to play with, right? So what if I want to save my player's position in the world, right? So what we do is to the player, we can add a public vector3, which needs using Unity Engine. So we can add like a public vector3 character position. And this is not the best way to pass in that data, but I will do it that way anyways. So we're gonna have here a public transform that is our player, or rather player transform, I'm gonna call it. And whenever we save here, we hit save, we say player that position here, character position equals player transform that position, right? And whenever we load it, we say player transform, player transform that position equals player that character position. And that way we'll move our character somewhere, and that's gonna like change the state of the game. I'm gonna also do another one in a second here. So we're gonna pick up the transform, and it's gonna be the mage, really like the mage. So I'm gonna hit play. I'm gonna name my mage. I'm gonna set my health to 1, and I'm gonna grab the mage from my hierarchies. She's somewhere. Here, mage. And I'm gonna move her here to the left. And I'm gonna save, right? She's saved. That the save has been created. You can see it here, mage, and we have a vector3 with the position. And now I'm going to load the other one. And she's nowhere to be found. Because this doesn't have a position, it's probably sending her to 0, 0, 0. So now we reload mage, and she's gonna be there again, right? And that is one thing that people usually ask themselves, hey, what do I do? How do I do this? But now we're gonna do something else. I'm gonna do one more thing. This other thing is for the world state. So my world state, sorry, I'm drinking water. Stay hydrated, folks. My world state is something that I need to really care about. Sometimes you open a chest and you wanna change the state of that chest, but I have these 2 coins here. I could play with them. You know what? I will play with them. So let's say you have those 2 coins. How would you save whether they are on or off? So say no, I mean the coins can be a chest. So you have a list of chests in a room that you want to know if they have been opened or not. But in this case, we're going to talk about the coins. So whether they are active or not. So how do we handle that? So the first thing we need is a list of the coins. This stuff should not be in your UI, but this is just for the tutorial. So we're gonna have a public game object array called coins. Look at that, called coins, right? And we need in our player, we're going to have this can be another script called world state or whatever. So we're gonna have a public list. Should I do it correctly? No. So a public, again, I'm gonna have a public bool array here called coins active, which is no, it's not gonna be set yet. So in my UI controller, whenever I'm going to save, right? Again, I say I need to create a new bool array, coins active, which is going to be equals to my coins. It's going to be a new bool array of coins length, of course, which is going to be filled in by for each game object coin in coins. We will say that's wrong. For coins.length, we'll say coins active I equals coins I dot active in hierarchy, and now player dot coins active equals. right? So we're going what we're doing is we're checking if the coins are active and passing it to the player, right? And now we do the opposite operation here in load game. We say now we say, well, this same thing, just the other way around, right? So coins length, we say coins, or rather, say coins that game object that set active. This, and here this is player that coins active I, right? So we are loading from the player these values. And now I have to delete my previous saves because that little thing that I did right there is way too deep. It's a very deep change in my save system. So yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, so here we will load the coins. Need two of them. So coin 0 and coin 1. So now I hit play. Thank you, Dia. Oh, there you are, Dia. How are you? All right, so we will, I'm gonna turn off this coin, the left one, right? And I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna say test one, and I'm going to move my mage. I'm gonna move the mage up. It's gonna be floating. Now I save that. And now I'm gonna close the scene and reopen it. And here we say test again so that it loads, and we load, and you see that the coin has been turned off. So you can do this for chests being open, enemies being dead, all sorts of things. This is very dynamic. And also, so this same system can be used to transfer data between scenes. So what I'm going to do here, I have the main scene. You can see that it's a scene, whatever scene, and I'm gonna delete this scene actually. I'm gonna duplicate this scene, and I'm gonna call this one secondary. And when I open this scene, you're gonna see the same thing, but it's not the same thing, of course. So I'm gonna hit play in the scene, and if I do the same thing, yeah, it's gonna do the same thing. So now, if I went to my main scene and I had a button next, I could do that. Okay, let's go to the build settings, and we're going to add open scenes. I actually need to add more than open scenes. But oh, I have to. Okay, I'll just. Right. So this is, you can see that this is build index 1, and here I'm going to have a button. I'm going to add a new button. Go to next scene. Next. I don't know what this looks like because I'm gonna make it larger. And the text, I'm sorry, I'm just a little, yeah, it's little, yeah. All right, so my UI controller, I will, you know what? I'm gonna do this the Unity way. So I'm just gonna public void next scene, or rather change scene. And I'm gonna add it to the button. This is not the way I like to do things, as you guys know. I like doing it the other way, but this is for my flexibility's sake or something. So we add this object, and we add change scene, and I'm gonna actually duplicate. No, I'm not. All right, next scene. Now, next scene is going to be saying Unity Engine scene manager. That scene manager, I said change scene or load scene, and we're gonna load the scene number 1, which is my other scene. This is just to prove that if I change something in the, oh, this is the wrong one. Oh god, okay, whatever. I will go to my other scene. I have to now delete main and copy this and create main because I'm making the same thing twice. All right, so now we hit play. We hit play, and I'm going to do the thing, right? I'm gonna grab the coin, and I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna grab my mage. I'm gonna move her to the left. I'm gonna make my name Dia because that's friend, right? And now we will save. We save. Now we load the next scene, which is the other, the secondary scene. You can see that even the lighting changed somehow. Variable saver. What the hell is this? I didn't do that. So Dia, and then we load, and you see that this is loading data. So you can do that in Awake. You can do that in any way that you want. Remember that this tutorial was recorded live at twitch.tv/naturalpowergames. I don't know why I hadn't said that, but yeah, thank you for watching. This tutorial which will teach a lot of people how to save and load data. I hope. If you have any questions, you can come to the Discord, you can come to the stream, you can ask in the YouTube comments, hit like, hit subscribe, blah, 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 all that kind of thing. So yeah, thank you for watching.